Hello, my name is Paul Parkinson. I'm a developer advocate at Oracle, and I'm going to walk you through a workshop on developing with Oracle and OpenAI, and the use cases are for the greater good. So first thing we will do is work on the setup. So the way I have the page laid out here, I have the documentation on the left-hand side, and once we get into the application, that will be on this left-hand side in the browser as well. And then on the right-hand side, I have the source code for the workshop. And at the bottom here, the terminal where the application is running. And so for most of the labs, uh, it's all one application that we're running. And so we'll be able to see that output here. Okay, so let's get started. Let's jump in with the setup lab. So in this setup lab, we are going to clone the workshop code. We're going to provision an Oracle database, and we're going to do that so you can use it locally. We're going to use a Docker container. We're going to install the SQL client, and so that's just for convenience of administering the database. We're going to run scripts in SQL to set up the database with the users, the JSON duality feature, the feature where the database can run JavaScript and actually call out from the database. And then we're going to configure the Oracle Cloud Services because we're going to use vision, speech, and language AI services from Oracle in these applications. We'll obtain an OpenAI account and token, and then we'll build the workshop. So we'll set the variables we kind of set up and build the workshop. Now, this sounds like a lot, but it's actually, as you'll see, very quick steps and should really only take maybe 15, 20 minutes maybe, okay? So the first thing we will do is go ahead and get the source code. So you can find the source code here, okay? And, either clone or download that. And, just bear in mind where it is. We'll refer to that as the AI workshop source root, wherever you unzipped or cloned that. The next thing we'll do is obtain an Oracle free 23C database. So the 23C database is nice because it has all the previews of different features, and we're going to show some of those that aren't actually available yet. And it's very easy to use. And in this case, I'm using a container. There are a bunch of different ways. You can check this link out. But using a container, I find very simple. And so all you need to do is copy and paste this command into the terminal. That's going to pull the container down and run it. If you'd like to have a persistent directory to store your data, which is handy if you're going to restart the database and want to, keep that data, you simply run this command instead and provide it with a directory for that Oracle volume for that storage of data. Okay, so that's it. That copy paste two commands there. Each of these is two commands. Will get you the database. You can go ahead and check that that's running and update the password if you like. Next task is to download the SQL client. And so you can just download it from here, install it, and put it in your path for convenience. And then just test the login. So when you created the database here, whether you use this command or this command, you provided a password. And so you'll use that same password to log in here, of course. And that's just to verify that you can log in from SQL. We'll use that in just a minute to actually install the users, etc. I mentioned. The next task is to set up the config for your for access to the OCI, Oracle AI services. And that's actually very easy once you've created an OCI account, of course. You just need these two files, essentially. You need this config file that takes this format, and one of the files it refers to is just the key, the private key that you'll create, okay? And we'll go into how you do that in just a moment. So this link will tell you everything you need to do as far as setting up that API key. So let's just take a look at it very quickly. All it's really doing is giving you the instructions. And you may already have a key, of course, that you can reuse for this. But basically just using OpenSSL to generate a key. Okay. And then you can do that either with or without a passphrase. You change the permissions. And then you generate the public key from the new private key you just made, okay? And that's really all there is to it. So then you go ahead and copy that and come over to your OCI console, okay? And in the OCI console, this page I'm on here, I access by going to this profile button on the upper right here, and then clicking on my name. That brought me to this page. And then down at the bottom here, there's an API keys link. You click that link, you click add API, and then you can just go ahead and paste that public key in that you created. Either, upload or paste it right in. And once you do that, that's going to give you a fingerprint down here. I'm not showing it for security reasons, but you'll have the fingerprint. So then you go ahead and copy that fingerprint, going back to the doc, and you have the fingerprint that you paste in here, the key file that you just created for your key, your user ID you can obtain from this screen as well. So you just copy the user ID, paste it in here, and then your tenancy and region. So again, you can just get that from the console. Click here. Oops, I'm sorry. Click on the profile and then on the tenancy, and you can go ahead and copy that value from here. Okay. So then you've created the key and this very simple config file and placed it in this directory. You can put it in any directory, but this is generally the directory that's used, is this one here. Okay. And so that's all it takes to access all of your cloud Oracle AI services. Next thing is to obtain OpenAI key. You just go to their platform, subscribe, and then you'll go to this page to grab your API keys from there. Okay. And then the last thing we will do is provide this information to the application so it can use it. And so the unique feature we're going to show you is one of the unique features we're going to show you is the ability for the Oracle database to run JavaScript and to make calls out from the database. And to do that, since we're using the database in a container, we just need to set up the config for the container to know our host because it's going to be calling out to our host. And so to do that, it's very simple. You can issue this command to find out what the IP of your host is, and then go ahead and update the value in this file in the repo. And I'll go through all the files as well, but in the repo, you'll see the SQL directory and this file here. And so you'll go ahead and replace this IP address with the one that you got from this output. Okay, and that's, like I say, just so the database can access the application that we're running. Okay, then we'll just go ahead and run some of the scripts in the database. So we're going to log in as we did in task 2 using SQL CL. Just log in and then run these 3 scripts one by one in the shell, in the SQL CL shell. And that is to create the user, to create the conversation table. So we're creating a user with some special privileges and the ability to call out to the outside world. So we're providing an ACL here. And then the next thing we're doing is calling the conversation SQL. So that is creating tables to show a feature that I'll talk about more in just a moment when I show the application for JSON duality. the ability in the Oracle database to access data both with JSON and with SQL, and complex relationships of those. So there's a very simple relationship here just to give you the idea, but you can develop very complex data models and access them both with JSON and SQL, which is very unique. Okay, so anyway, this SQL is setting that up. And then finally, the first file I was referring to, which is a stored procedure that is running JavaScript. So, and it's using a mechanism called a snippet. So even though I've created a store procedure, etc. here, we also have a tool where you can just write JavaScript and it drops it in. But you could just drop the JavaScript in the store procedure as I have done here. So you can see this is actually going to run within the database. And that's installing a store procedure that calls that. So the next thing we're going to do is just replace a couple values in this build run script. And that's so the application knows the OpenAI key config and the OCI config, okay? And then finally, we're going to run this using the build and run script here. And you'll see output such as you see in the terminal here below. And that's it. And that everything is set up for all of the lab 2, 3, 4, and 5, which I'm going to show you now. Lab 6, feel free to contact me. I do not have the source for this, and this does involve a mixed reality headset, but I'm more than happy to walk you through this. I will be posting code for this, but it's a little bit more involved. It's still fairly straightforward, but the first thing is, of course, you have this headset and you're setting up the application in Unity and things like that. Okay, so contact me for more information on that. And then finally, I'll be handing it over to Nacho to do Lab 7, where he'll go into alternatives of OpenAI and show you details on that.